is a journey into sound.
Saluton amicoi! Welcome to another episode of the Young Eurocrat in Brussels! That's right, here we are again. I know that you've been missing, which is already, I bet, your number one favorite podcast in your listening. And here again, as we are another stepping stone in our path to become the future commissioners and/or MEPs. So, a topic that's been recurring in these recent days and weeks and months in general, which honestly I'm a bit tired of hearing about, it's the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Okay, I know, politically correct now is to say the Israel-Hamas war. Exactly. I mean, honestly, it's like some people don't know about anything else to talk about. Everybody talks about this constantly, and aren't there no other topics? For example, how is Bitcoin varying, or like what has been the development of SP 500? Like, you know, get a life, guys. Anyway, if you listen to this, I don't think you fall into that category because you understand what's going on. And what's going on is that Israel is really trying to kill all Hamas terrorists. The EU considers Hamas as a terrorist organization, so nothing controversial here. And like, it's so, honestly, it must be so frustrating to the politicians and to the soldiers mostly, because they always hide in hospitals. It's amazing, they hide in hospitals. Recently, they even hid in like UN buildings, like Hamas terrorists in UN buildings. And I mean, what can you do, you know? You just let them be there and try to perhaps negotiate a deal, a ceasefire, and reach things from a consensus? Of course not. We're talking about terrorists. You know, with terrorists, you should actually answer in a proportionate way. Proportionate way, as we all know, is to bomb an hospital and destroy everybody that's there. Okay, some children are dying. Sure, okay. I mean, some tens of thousands of children have died until now. Alright, but... well, as the patron de promotion of the College of Europe this year said in a very brilliant way, you know, 500,000 Iraqi kids, exactly 500,000 Iraqi kids dying seems like a normal, seems like a normal price to pay for the very successful and above all justified operation of the US in Iraq. And if a patron de promotion of the College of Europe says it, it means it's brilliant and it means it's true, because why would the College of Europe not choose a patron de promotion that wouldn't be a genius, right? All of us went there, all of us are geniuses because we were inspired by another genius. About the college though, that's actually a very good thing to bring. I know that I don't talk about the College of Europe enough in this podcast, so maybe today I'll talk a bit more. About that, the college, again, a beacon of virtue. Some people have been saying, I have some colleagues that were saying, oh yeah, but why isn't the college already like issuing a position and saying like what they think about this conflict? Why would the college do that? Is the College of Europe the College of Middle East? Last time I checked, no. I mean, what, the college now has to give an opinion about everything that's going on, about every word that's going on, about... I mean, people, yeah, I mean, college has better things to do. To be honest, the college. I mean, there is more interesting international days to host, more interesting lectures and master classes to have. Right now, actually, there has been a scandal with like a professor has been investigated for sexual harassment. I think. I hope that truth comes to light and we can finally realize what happened and what didn't happen, because sometimes we know that, like, you know, some students may exaggerate in these things and you ruin the reputation of a great man. And honestly, to me, I'm for the truth, right? So let the truth be found out, let the truth be known. And I heard that the college won't give anonymity to people that talk about this, to women that come forward and talk about their experiences with this professor that's being accused. And I agree. I mean, why would you give anonymity? You know, if you want to say it, you should come and say it out loud for everybody. Otherwise, how do we know if it's true? Nowadays, this woke generation, it's like you want to ruin a man's career without actually finding out what happened. And yeah, I mean, let's be serious here. If it's a College of Europe professor, it's a man with a great esteem and a man of great moral grounds. So we need to investigate this very seriously. But yeah, but going back again to, so the college has not been issuing an opinion, right? People have been saying this. But yeah, again, as I mentioned, college is not called the College of Middle East, it's called the College of Europe. And that's why, about Ukraine, about the invasion, the unprovoked invasion of Russia in Ukraine, about the war crimes that are being committed in Ukraine, that everybody knows they are happening, the college should have an opinion, because it's happening right here in our backyard. And I know this is gonna sound, I know how this sounds, but I think someone needs to say it, and we need people to say the truth these days. And of course, you care more about Ukrainians. They look more like us. Me, for example, as a 10 Portuguese, I look way more like an Ukrainian than I do with a Palestinian, right? And Jesus also. Jesus, for example, also looks more like a Ukrainian, because everyone knows Jesus was blonde and white than he does with a Palestinian. So, it's a matter of like connection to people that look like you, to people that are like speak like you, do things like you. So yeah, it's not, nobody's saying that like lives have different value, The point is the place for valuing lives the same? A place like the College of Europe, for example, I'm not sure, and then sometimes like you talk with, but the rest can be a problem, because sometimes you talk with Brazilians or Mexicans that say, no, I don't care about the invasion of Ukraine. What do you mean you don't care about it? The world, Europe, always cares so much about conflicts in your countries, about conflicts in Africa, about conflicts in America, in Central America, about like Middle East, Europe is so like always caring so much, and like so empathetic, and now you say that? Honestly, the world needs to put priorities first, and priority is Ukraine. Palestine is important. I mean, Hamas, the war against the terrorists of Hamas is important, but I don't think we can say it's the same importance, let's say. For a matter of geography, really, just geography. But let's be serious, Let's be serious about this. So that's why the college has an opinion on that. And I mean, I think nobody can criticize, again, the virtuous institution from having that opinion. Because in the meantime, what we've been seeing is like a big, honestly, sometimes it's like we see just a big shaming campaign, and like, for example, talking about this conflict, I think that like we live in very brilliant times, because we Europeans, we can understand that even though Israeli politicians talk about wanting to commit genocide, I hate using this word just so like as if it means nothing, by the way, but we'll get there. They've been talking about, these guys talking about, we want to kill every Palestinian, we want there is no two-state solution that can come, we have to give every Hamas terrorist, and but like they've been saying this, but I mean, it's obviously self-defense. we have to speak louder. It's not because Israeli politicians in Israeli society, in Israel, like public figures talk about invading Palestine, intervening in Palestine and actually getting to kill Hamas terrorists, that they are committing a genocide. They are saying it, but we are Europeans. We have a sense of interpretation much better than anyone else in the world. So we can interpret that what they really mean is not that, right? Plus, again, they are our allies. So there shouldn't be any. Then we don't need to go further than that to see who is right and who is wrong, right? I mean, honestly. And then we had the ICJ ruling, the ICC ruling. Sorry, because both courts are so relevant, and international law is such an actual real thing that works and matters for everybody in the world, for Western world, but also for the global South. It's equally applied and equally valid. That I confused the both. But yeah, the ICC said there were, what was it? There were like grounds to think actions. So they were like, because after the case of South Africa there, they were like actually talking about how this could actually be genocide, and Israel should stop and put a break in things, right? And Israel didn't do it. Obviously, Israel didn't do it. Why should you do it to a court that it's probably also controlled by Hamas? You know, we cannot be sure. You can never be sure nowadays if something is not Hamas or not. For example, when I call my mother sometimes and she starts to tell me to asking me things about my job, I'm like, but are you Hamas? You know, she could be a spy. Everybody could be Hamas. You gotta be careful. So I think that I think it's right that Israel continues to do things right. I'm enjoying to see some European. I'm missing European unity here, honestly. Like Belgium, where we are right now in our path. Belgium has been talking about a two-state solution, a ceasefire. Spain as well. Spain, yeah, of course, the wrong country of Iberian Peninsula. Of course, they would say stuff like that. But we should look at the virtues, like Germany. Germany is, first of all, everybody knows Germany is the most virtuous country of the world and of the EU in particular. Germany always puts us in amazing places, like Germany when it was the sovereign debt crisis, because obviously there was sovereign debt crisis, right? It wasn't just the fault of the collapsing of the financial system. No. These countries like mine, and I say it with no problems, we are lazy, and that's why we got in debt. And Germany was there to tell you, hey, do this, do that, learn with us, match your debt, match your deficit. So Germany is always like giving good lessons, talking about everything that matters, talking about how we should be more like financially responsible, because people in my country are financially illiterate as well. And we should learn from very developed and functional infrastructure working perfectly like Germany is, right? And I think about Israel, it shows very well also how they have always been in the good side of history. First, when South Africa announced that they would bring the case to the ICC again, Germany said they would support Israel, as you should do, they are the victims. And then Namibia talked about the genocide that Germany supposedly did in the country. And I mean, let's talk, how far do we go now? You know, how far do we go now to talk about anything? Like, do you want to talk about things happened 100 years ago? What's happening about today, right? Same thing about Israel and Palestine. What matters is today. I mean, matter is what started after 7th of October. Before that, it doesn't matter. We should define a line, and the line should be 7th of October. So it's the same about the genocide in Namibia, supposed genocide in Namibia. If it happened before 7th of October, it doesn't matter. Okay? And once again, if Germany is supporting one side, it means it's the virtuous side, as history shows us. So I think it's great that that Germany has so influence in world affairs and in European affairs, because clearly they are the virtues on the table. And as a Portuguese, it's a blessing to be in a place where we can learn from Northern European civilized countries. It's amazing, honestly. It's amazing. What else do I want to bring about? That was the case that South Africa brought to the court. South Africa, a country that, honestly, they themselves should know better that the West always supports the good side of the story. It's like when there was apartheid in South Africa, and we know that like UK, US, and France until the 70s, 80s were like refusing to condemn the apartheid, because I mean, why would you do it and mess in a country's internal affairs, you know? And obviously Mandela has been a terrorist. In the end, he finally learned to dialogue, but he was a terrorist for fighting with armed. If you use force, you always lose. Always. You always lose reason. Unless, of course, you are the US bombing Iraq, but other than that, you always lose. And so South Africa should know better to trust blindly the Western system, that it will do the right thing. So, this brings us to also something that the left has been saying, that, but you know, we should boycott Israel from Eurovision now and from the Olympics. What? Why do you need to mix politics with sports? You know, this is just politics. It's just like, if you turn the news and you read about it, or like you talk to people about that, it's merely politics. Why do you have to be so emotional about things? You know, I mean, we cannot. What's the fault of the athletes to be banned from competitions just because the country is doing this special operation in Gaza? What the fuck? And then they start comparing with Russia. It has nothing to do with Russia, okay? It makes total sense that Russians, and especially Belarusians, who have been protesting for decades against Lukashenko and going to jail, but obviously if they are ruled by him, they are to blame by the president. That's how it works, right? And in that case, of course, you need to ban them, because the unprovoked invasion of Ukraine is a terrible thing that is happening with no parallel in the world, okay? So let's be clear. But about Israel, yeah, it's totally different. Totally different. Like it has nothing to do. Nothing. And again, nothing to do this comparison. In fact, Israel is the Ukraine in this case. And yeah, maybe you ban Palestinian athletes, but Israeli, no, of course not. In the Russian case, yes, and people also say you're mixing politics and sports there. No, because invasion of Ukraine is objectively wrong, and everybody knows that it is the thing that cannot happen because we're talking about in Europe. In Palestine, it's politics. That's the difference. If it happens in the countries that border the EU, it's about peace and about human rights. If it's far away from you, it's politics, and I think we should make it clear. We should choose in which side of history we are, and it's delightful to see that how our voice in our democracies is being heard so much. Some people have been saying, but people are protesting in the streets so much for Palestine, and the European and US governments are not doing anything. Are they really democracies? People are voting. If you vote, you are literally a democracy. I mean, that's literally what democracy means. You vote every 4 or 5 years, and the rest of the year, you don't give a shit. That's what democracy is, So how can you question that even? If it's voting in like Belarus or Russia, everybody knows there you vote, but it doesn't really matter because the ruling class is the same, and like people are doing the same, and Putin and Lukashenko win. Sometimes they change with other politicians, but everybody's the same. But our countries, we change people. So if people in power are always different, it means it's a democracy. And the fact that people are protesting in the street and nothing is happening to change the situation, it's because our government knows better what to do. And that's how lucky we are to live in our societies, in our civilized societies, right? Our governments can tell us, hey, you're protesting for Palestine, but you don't really know what's going on, okay? I'm gonna teach you. Me, elected by you, so if you elect me, it means I can do whatever the fuck I want, because you elected me, right? I'm sorry I said fuck, this is a serious podcast. They know better, so what's the critique about democracy? I really don't get it. Do you wanna be like Cuba, for example? Because I don't know if you heard, but I think it was 2022, Cuba passed a civil code, a new family law that enshrines a lot of rights in their constitution. It was actually the first family code that ever went to a referendum anywhere in the world. And the code legalizes same-sex marriage, grants adoption right to same-sex couples, recognizes solidarity pregnancies like surrogates, prenuptial agreements, encourages men and women to equally share the house chores. It's written in the constitution to men and women should be progressive at home, extends labor rights, protects against gender violence, talks about family as affection, not as blood. That's great. I mean, some of those stuff, I think it's a bit too much, I think that, women and men doing the same thing at home, well, jobs are different also, right? So, and anyway, I mean, they are on their right to do that, to put it there. And if they want to talk about this woke mentality now of everything need to be the same, whatever, do what they want. And it went to a referendum. They voted in a referendum, but they are still not a democracy. See, this is the catch. Even though in Cuba they vote at a local level, they had a referendum about a family code now that affects everybody. It's still not a democracy, because it's not ruled by virtuous people, and they did a communist revolution. Everybody knows if you do a communist revolution, you stop being a democracy, and you are a democracy much before that. Cuba, for example, was a great country before the communist revolution. It was it had a very nice guy, Fulgencio Batista, supported by the US. It was a great place to be. It was these communists that ruined everything, as they do everywhere, right? So I think we should see it democracy is not just about voting for a family code or a referendum. No, democracy is in our countries, you vote every 4 or 5 years, and then you protest, and the government decides if you take your protest into account or not. The government may say your protest doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter, and it's okay. It's part of democracy. So I think that, maybe let's pay a bit more attention and understand better society that we are living in, and call ourselves lucky for living in such democracies that support human rights unconditionally. Of course, if they are in the Middle East, it's politics, right? But about human rights at Ukraine, for example, so where human rights are really human rights and not just politics, then I think it's okay that we live here and we can talk about this very openly. Anyway, guys, I hope you had. I hope that you liked it. I felt like sharing with you today. I hope that you liked it. I really wish peace in the world. Everybody's friends, and like this conflict stops, and they stop to fighting over like things that set up in like centuries ago, and like about religion. Like just be friends with each other, you know. And if Palestinians need to go somewhere else, then that's every country around is Arab, right? So they could welcome them. Like they could just welcome if they go there. If they are so solidary, why don't they do that? Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, after all. So it makes sense. Israel is like trying to do things in a very democratic way, as democracies that have a part of population living in an open air prison are, right? So yeah, I think let's see how it evolves. I'm sure that like our leaders are very virtuous, and don't forget we live in the place in the world where human rights are based, and the rest is copying from us, right? Great talk, guys. I hope that you had a good time, and don't forget, see you in 2 weeks. This podcast still costs no money.